got a right to do what I want. No, you're not coming to get me, unquote. Drinking is the least of your issues with this young man. His aggression, his entitlement, his anger.
All the side effects of being drunk.
Of humility, or honesty, or responsibility. No indicators that he is interested in living with.
Oh my god.
So what do you do as a
No.
parent?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
What
Fuck.
type of boundaries do you hold?
Ow.
Like I said before, drinking is not really the issue at this point. Drinking is a symptom of his aggression.
It's the opposite.
Of his fear.
Drinking is a symptom.
No. Drinking is just something you do for enjoyment sometimes, and then it turns into an addiction.
Of his irresponsibility, of his entitlement,
What?
of his distortion, of his fear that he's not enough.
What?
His entitlement and lack of empathy, his dishonesty and irresponsibility is at the root, and at the core is, I'm not enough. So how long has this been going on? The fact that your son doesn't feel like he's enough. Now, when I say that, you, as the parents, are not responsible for your son feeling or noting and directing him, either in principles or not. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jody Hildebrandt. Welcome to another episode of the Connections Podcast, where we help you create joy in your life and in your relationships. Start your training today at connectionsclassroom.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Connections Coaching, or join our private Facebook group, Moms of Truth, with
Rather
Jody
kill
and
myself.
Ruby.
What?
I'd rather kill myself.
And only recently joined, but I feel your feedback could help me. Recently, my son, 17, was at his friend's house for the night. He has spent many nights there before, since it's one of his closest friends, and I trust the family. However, I gave him a call to check in with him before my husband and I went to bed, and he sounded very obviously intoxicated. Of course, I was worried and angry, so I told him I was coming over to pick him up. He put up a very big fight when I told him this. He said, "You don't have the right," quote unquote. And he said, "I'm almost 18 and I should be able to decide where I spend the night," unquote. Nonetheless, I drove over to pick him up, and he was clearly intoxicated when he got in the car, slurring his words, cursing at me and my husband, and even threw up while we were walking back inside the home. I took his phone and sent him to bed and told him we would talk in the morning when he was sober enough to talk to us. That morning, I called my friend's mother, to inform her of the situation, assuming she was not in the know. However, I was beyond shocked when I found out that she had been aware of the drinking and thought, quote, "It's better if they do it in a safe environment," unquote.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with my son and or the mother who allowed this. Help. So, one of my first thoughts is the villagers. The villagers takes a village to raise a child.
But how did this turn into villages?
And she's not doing her role, this mother. The mother of the son was shocked that she was in on it, that she invited or prepared or created the environment for this to go on.
Fuck.
So I sit and I think, oh my goodness. When we have children, we need help raising them. And I keep running into parents after parents after parents, situation after situation, where the helpers, the schools, the churches, their friends' parents, the principals, you go to these other adults and you think, oh, they're gonna be able to help. They're gonna be able to. They'll back me up. They'll back up. Reality, and they don't. They go along with the distortion. I feel for this woman. As I read that, I was like, oh,
Why's she moaning?
what that must have felt like for that mother to go retrieve her son from some place that she has trusted. She said, I trusted this family and that they've been friends for years. My thought is, what else has gone on over there that you know nothing about, Mom? So when she says, I need help, here's your help. For whatever reason, I don't know why you didn't see any signs. So if you have a neighbor
Oh
or
my god,
a
this guy's such a dick.
person that you trust, when
This guy,
I
he's
say
just being
trust,
such a dick.
that means that they have given me gobs of data over the years that they are worthy of trust, that they have similar values, they understand principles, they govern by principles, we have similar responses to things, like so much data that I would trust my child going over, especially spending the night. So I'd look at myself first, Mom, and I'd say, where was I deceived? What did I think was trust when it really wasn't trust? How long have I known this woman?
Jesus, no, fuck you.
How many times has the son been over to my house? How well do I know the son? Is the son manipulated? I would be looking at myself first and say, where and with who have I been deceived? How many interactions have I had with my son's friends? Has he lied right to my face? Have we had conversations about drinking and he said to me, I would never touch that? I don't know. I don't know all that information.
You say that
That's where I would
sometime.
go. Because that's a humble
You've said that you
process.
haven't drank before.
Honest, responsible, and
God.
humble are your base. So I go into humble. And humble means I start asking questions. First questions of myself. Where was I off? What did I not see? Was it because I didn't want to see? Was it because I wanted them to like me? Was it because I wanted my son to think I was cool? Like, what is going on with me that I didn't see the danger that I placed my son in?
Oh shit.
Oh, Jesus.
Once I figure all that out, then I get curious about my
We're literally surrounded.
because he's the next one that's responsible.
We're just...
This woman, the neighbor, is not responsible for my son.
help!
That's him.
I'm dead.
But she's
I know.
responsible for him. I'm responsible for him, and he's responsible for him. So then I would look at my son and say, where has he been dishonest? Where has he manipulated? What did I think of my son? Why did I give so much confidence and trust in my son when he has no problem lying and hiding something from me? And how long has that been going on? What else has he been hiding and lying from me? Because somebody that gets drunk like that, that's not a first time, probably. It's probably a numerous time. And so I'd want to know, how often has he engaged in that?
Hold the words.
What?
Let's listen to it on. Doesn't God let bad things happen?
Yes.
Teaching children about truth and distortion versus distortion.
God.
Maybe they'll tell us what the words mean.
Can you treat depression and anxiety using medication and still be living in truth? If medication isn't a principle of truth, then what is it? What types of filters can I sift my questions through in order to be centered when deciding which direction to go in managing my depression and anxiety. With so many living in a state of panic, these are very pertinent and important probing questions. Hello, everyone. I am your host, Ruby Frankie. Welcome to another episode of the Connections Podcast, where we help you create joy in your life and relationships. Start your training today at connectionsclassroom.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Connections Coaching, or join our private Facebook group, Moms of Truth with Jody and Ruby.
No.
This mom writes in a very important question, and it's one that I am sure some of you have been asking. And like any of the questions that are on Moms of Truth, we look at principles. So this mother writes and she says, "Help! My daughter has been prescribed antidepressants from her GP," so general practitioner. I think that's what GP stands for. "I don't know what to do in accordance with truth and feel that medication is not a true principle, but I need answers." So here's a mom who is conflicted.
You should be more concerned about, I don't know, your daughter's depression.
Have trust with.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to say, you don't need medication. It's just your child's fault that they feel the way.
Yeah. That's probably what she'll say.
That's what you're going to want to look at, as well as how well does this general practitioner know you? How well does this general practitioner understand your daughter?
Maybe. How well do you understand her daughter?
Not at all.
Not as much as you practitioner.
Is
Yeah.
a trustworthy, is this an honest, responsible, and humble practitioner? Jody just got eye surgery that she shared in one of her videos, and she said
That's
that
not
the
true.
first thing she looked for in her eye surgery
Not truth. Yeah, that's not in the things. Yeah.
was honest, responsible, and humble, which isn't something you would normally look for in a doctor, at least not when you're living in distortion. When you begin living in truth, you understand that that is the leading factor in your friends, in your associations, in the job that you choose, and even in the practitioners that you put your body in the trust of. And so make sure that you are with a doctor that you really admire and feel safe and comfortable with. And this mom is also conflicted. She's saying, I have this prescription for my daughter to go on antidepressants, and I'm also wanting to live in truth. Can you do that? Can you take medication and be in truth?
I hope
That's
so.
what I want to talk about today. So she goes on and she said, "They say the medication will allow her to lead a healthier, leaner lifestyle. However, that would be a good thing." So I don't know what this mom is referring to when she says leaner and healthier. That would lead me to think that this daughter is overweight. And to what degree, how much, I'm not sure. This mom is wanting to know, can you give this daughter antidepressants and be in truth?
She has obviously never heard of mental health.
And slow it down. So first, you have principles of truth. Principles of truth are eternal, they're never changing, and they're consistent. So honesty, responsibility, and humility are the basic principles. And from there, you also have forgiveness and compassion and gratitude and competence. Competence is a principle. You have empathy, you have commitment, and the list goes on and on. You can have thousands and thousands of principles. Now, medication. What is medication? Medication is a modality of management.
What?
You and I have many modalities of management. The lawnmower is a modality of management.
I'm not gonna go clip my lawn.
Of me being responsible for the yard that I purchased. I love the washing machine. The washing machine is a modality of management.
That's because
I
she's
can't
a
even
woman.
imagine managing my home without a washing machine. I'm sure
You
you
would
have
stink. That's the only
modalities
difference.
that you absolutely feel like you need. How about a car? How about a phone? What about a vacuum? How about your job? There are many modalities.
Yeah, how about your jaw?
Manage our lives. The toothbrush.
What?
Toothpaste. I mean, we could just list thousands upon thousands. The computer, I mean, right now alone, I'm using a camera stand that's holding my phone. So I'm managing my responsibility to produce content using a camera stand. I've got a phone set up. I have a little Yeti mic set up over here for my to make this into a podcast as well. And I've got my computer going, and I have a chair that I'm sitting in. Look at all of these modalities that are allowing me to engage in my responsibilities. Now, is the computer a principle of truth? No. Is my chair a principle of truth? No. Neither is the washing machine, and neither is the phone, and neither is, this camera stand. They're simply elements that I am choosing to utilize to get with the end goal of being responsible. And, if my washing machine broke and I, for some reason, couldn't find another washing machine, I could find other ways to be responsible. I could go to hand washing the clothes.
Oh my God.
It probably wouldn't be the most glamorous, and it would take more time, and I could find other ways of being responsible. So modalities of management are neutral. Is a phone distorted?
No.
Or is a phone truth?
It's true.
It's neutral. It's an inanimate object, and
So is a washing machine.
How I use it, I could be in truth or I could be in distortion. So let's say I take my phone and I use it to be destructive. Let's say I look up pornography. That's a destructive, distorted use of the phone. Or I could use the phone as I'm doing right now, which is producing content which invites the world into principles of truth. That would be a very truthful motive for using my phone. This mother, she hinted toward an eating habit or overeating because of the word.
Never did.
So let's look at food. Food is a modality of management. We have a physical body in which we are responsible. I am responsible to keep my body well rested, to keep it fed, to empty it. I am responsible to use my body in healthy ways that give it exercise and stretch the muscles and strengthen the muscles. And I can eat in distortion, which means I'm putting meaning on the food, or I'm putting responsibility on the food that isn't in truth. So if I'm really sad and I go, and my motive for eating Oreos, or my motive for eating Ben & Jerry's, or my motive for eating 5 plates of pasta is to distract me from my emotions, now I know I'm in distortion. If I go to food with the motive of giving me energy for the day and giving me enough strength that I can attend to all my duties, and so I think of a well-balanced meal that has nutrition inside of the food that I know I can digest, that would be a motive in truth. Exercising. I can exercise in truth, or I can exercise in distortion. Exercising in truth would be a motive of wanting, again, to strengthen, to stretch, to build resilience, and a motive for not exercising. There's a lot of people who don't exercise. I don't know if your daughter is in this category.
Just fat shaming.
But some people avoid exercising for a variety of reasons.
A various variety.
So let's go to medication, because medication is not a principle of truth. Medication it's neutral. And depending on your motive, it could be in truth or it could be in distortion. Let me give you some examples. Let me give you an example of someone who uses medication in distortion, and then someone who uses medication in truth. And then I'll give you an example of someone who doesn't use medication at all. So
what? You don't need to.
Okay, so I know of a woman who there is a specific place that she goes to, and she wants to go there. She goes there for social reasons. She goes there for expectation reasons. She goes there for religious reasons. She goes there for it's a habit in her life, and
It's just a church.
chosen to keep it in her life.
Yeah.
And she gets super anxious when she goes. Super anxious. Her heart rate goes up. She has an anxiety attack. She sweats. She doesn't eat as this time comes that she knows she's going to go. And so she has gone and gotten some medication where she can take the medication, and it helps suppress these feelings. It helps her so that she doesn't.
We're just gonna keep doing this.
So why is that?
All the way to
Does
Green's
that
Base.
help her?
Yeah.
Taking the medication,
Sure.
allow her body to rest.
I'm gonna need to go get more blocks, but
Follow through with going to this place that she's committed to going to. Isn't it helping her be responsible to keep her commitments?
No.
Well, if you just look at the outcome, that argument. When you're living in truth, though, you're not just looking at the outcomes. So this general practitioner, it makes sense why he would prescribe an antidepressant if he feels that that would help her have a cleaner, more healthy lifestyle, that would help her engage in society, engage with her friends, and help her now. And it's important to look at the motive.
pick up the blocks that all dropped.
Fear
Can't hold them.
behind what she's experiencing.
What?
I have diamonds on the floor here. 15.
Oh. Here, almost. Just giving you an entire row of my inventory. Okay.
Then you got this trap here for the diamond on the cave. Back to the episode.
Oh god.
Do you like what you're hearing so far?
No.
Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our podcast now, or go to connectionsclassroom.com and click Start Training.
Here, I'll put the walls up.
So I happen to know this woman who has been taking this medication, and she's been on it for years. And I asked her once, I said, what exactly is it that gets you so anxious about going to this place? And she said, I don't know. And I said, interesting. You've been nervous and anxious about going to this place for decades.
Shit.
So much so that you have anxiety
Green.
attacks. You don't actually know what it is
Run.
that you're afraid of, or that's causing this rise in emotion. And she said, no, I've never thought about it. So taking the medication in and of itself wasn't distorted. The distortion was that she was unwilling or didn't know how
Are you in your
to
trap?
look at her fears.
Yeah.
She was invited by me to look at her fears. And she did nothing.
No, Jesus.
That's uncomfortable.
Run.
I'd rather just take my pills.
Blew it up.
I know what works for me.
Activate.
So she's in a state of denial because she's denying, she's putting blinders up as to the real
What?
source.
It was almost shut down.
Oh.
It was 2 seconds before it was shut down.
Well, he knows where we are now.
There's only one of them.
Okay.
It was an explosion. I don't know if you realized that it was me that did that.
Well, since he already knows the whole tunnel, if we make another trap up here somewhere, he's not going to be expecting it.
Yeah.
Of the distortion. Now, let me give you a motive in truth. Is there ever a time to use medication and it's in truth? Yes, absolutely. And one of those examples is in my family. So my husband, he's been a fairly healthy guy. When we got married, he was a student of engineering, and he graduated with his degree. We had children, and he went on to get his master's degree, and we had more children. And we had a series of unexpected events. It was 2008. He knew he needed to get another job. We moved across states. I had another baby. He started his PhD program, and it just was a lot. It was a lot. And we downsized from a home that we just thought was our dream home, and we downsized back into student housing with 4 children. That was getting kind of dark. And he went into a depression around the 3rd year. He had 1 year left of graduate school, and he was shutting down. He was shutting down. He wasn't wanting to get out of bed. When he did get out of bed, which he always kept his responsibilities, he just would have these panic attacks. So he went and he got professional help, and he was diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety. And he was given a prescription to manage these physiological responses. He was given medication to manage the chemicals that were in his brain. And he was able to finish his last year at school. And because that medication bought him some time, he was able to keep all of his commitments. He was able to continue working and supporting his family. He was able to use medication to manage himself so he could show up and be responsible. Now, after he graduated and that imminent deadline was over and he had more time, he began to slowly wean off and began taking responsibility for the inevitable pain of life, of having a full schedule, because surprise, surprise, those adults who have gone to graduate school and tell themselves the distorted story that, oh, when I graduate, life's going to get easier. It did not get easier, as you well know. And so instead of relying on medication, he learned to manage using principles, which does take time. And so I am very grateful that he was able to manage that last year in graduate school. Now, I told you I would give you a 3rd example of someone who did not use medication. In fact, I have 2 examples. So I had a little girl who used to come visit my home on a pretty regular basis. And we had a grandma dog in our home, and she was very calm, very, the little kids could crawl on her, and she'd never retaliate, she'd never bark, she wouldn't ever go after a child. I knew she was a good dog. And this little girl would come over, terrified. I mean, terrified, scared to death of dogs. And her mom came over and modeled for her what it was like to be around a dog who wasn't aggressive. And I don't know if this little girl had experiences with an aggressive dog, and that's why she was projecting this fear onto my dog. But whatever the reason was, she was terrified. And so her mother invited her, and she just watched from a corner. She put herself up in a corner, and then she watched her mom pet our dog, and she was a big Labrador. Her name was Nolly, and she'd say, "Hello, Nolly, it's good to see you." And then this little girl would actually go into our house around to the back door because she didn't want to pass the dog in getting to the rest of the house. So this happened, and this went on for several weeks, and every time the mom would come over, she would again show the daughter how to interact with this mild-mannered dog. And this little girl, her chemicals in her brain were totally affected. This little girl was perceiving danger. She was perceiving that this dog was a threat. Maybe she perceived that her life was on the line. And because of those perceptions, she had these anxious feelings, and she had chemicals in her body because of it, and it
What?
took her quite a long time when she was at her house to come down from it. After about 3 months of this modeling, she finally got to the point where she perceived in the truth. She perceived this dog for what the dog was. She gained many experiences of being safe around our dog, and it got to the point where she would just get down on her knees and play with her dog, behind her ears, and scratch her belly. And so she was able to manage her emotions without using medication, and she was able to manage it instead by using principles of truth. One more example of a little boy. So I know of a little boy when he was 7. He had an infection in his left leg, and it became abscessed. And he was told that his leg was going to need to be amputated. They found a doctor who was willing to go in and cut out fragments of the infected bone in an effort to save the leg. When the doctor came to do the procedure, he offered this little boy medication that would numb him out, that would sedate him. And he said he did not want anything interfering with his mental state, with his ability to think, with his ability to feel. And he was willing to go through the pain in order to avoid the medication. He asked his family to be in the room, and he was able to get the support he needed by holding hands with family members as the operation went through. And he did save his leg, and he did go through the operation without any medication. Now, I know that's a real extreme example. I don't know of any 7-year-old who would want to do that. I have children who don't even want to go to the dentist without some type of sedative to calm them down. So this is where you get to decide on if medication is in truth or not by really being honest about your motives. Now, when you make the decision to use medication, you are making a commitment. So commitment is the principle of truth. You are committing yourself to this medication. When I say committing, I don't mean you're giving yourself a life sentence to always be on this medication. What I mean by commitment is you're making a choice, you're bringing medication into your body or into your daughters or your sons if you're a parent of a child. And
I have to tell you something.
What?
So there's this TikTok about e-passengers that was made like 1 or 2 years ago. And I commented on it like way back then. I said, like it was a video of car freeze driving like a whole bunch of like just blueberry yogurt. It was just so much of it. Like it was like pans and pans.
Oh, I remember that.
I commented like she's probably starving her kids, and I got 19,000 likes on it. I'm not even kidding. And then someone I did today and said that's not aging well.
Nope, it's not.
Or no, wait, maybe that's aging well or something because it's what happened.
Yeah.
One of the two. I don't remember actually.
I think it would have been that's not aging very well.
Oh, so see.
Okay.
Oh.
They have turned out.
So I said, why did you make that much?
Kevin put the blueberries in.
Look at how many likes I got.
Oh my god, 19.1.
And then the next one said, you really think Ruby feeds her kids though? And the next one said, the common age proper, huh?
I don't know, big family.
Oh. Are you alive?
Yep.
What the hell is Fruit Loop?